This beautiful pool. It's magnificent. It's like pools in one. It is magnificent. We're going to talk about what I bring to the table as a dating coach, and why, if you're struggling with your dating, that is, you might not be struggling with your dating. You might also think, let me turn around here, that things are going really well for you. I might be able to help you to get better results. That's what I do. We work miracles here. But what makes me a good dating coach? Number one is overcoming an unbelievable amount of adversity and not ending up homeless, which I did at one stage, broke, poor, psychologically damaged and on drugs and alcohol and a total mess. And overcoming those problems. And having things go wrong that are out of my control, and a lot of the time things will be happening to you that are out of your control, and overcoming them and still managing to thrive. Someone from my upbringing really shouldn't be hanging out here in what is technically 20-star beautiful pool, living the life. I really shouldn't be. I really shouldn't be here. All of the probabilities were against me. I didn't have parents. You know, I grew up with a stepfather that was trying to kill me. I had an extremely damaged mother that was an orphan growing up, and she had a lot of issues. She tried to kill me. My father, he had a relatively easy life. Both of his parents were awesome parents, and they gave him a house. He didn't have to pay rent his entire life. He lived in a house, lived the life of a king his entire life. He brought up, after divorcing my mother, ended up living in a magnificent house, big house, right in Bondi Junction. And he brought up 2 new sons from a new woman, and abandoned me totally. Never checked out on me, never checked to see if I was alive my entire life. Never helped me out once. Never gave me a cent. Never helped me out. And my mother was just so damaged and psychologically wrecked that she was absolutely no help to me in any way, shape or form. And, started out living in a place called Maroubra, which is the ghetto. And when I grew up, because I'm in my mid-40s now, it was actually a very dangerous place. I grew up in Maroubra in the 80s when Australia had gun rights. There was guns everywhere. There were shotguns under everybody's beds, and it was a very dangerous place. There was a lot of crime, a lot of drugs, and a lot of poverty. And Australia was a lot more dangerous of an environment back then. And so I obviously had a lot of psychological issues growing up, dealing with adversity. It was more because of the abuse and the threats and the legitimate danger to my livelihood, my life. And as I grew up, I got myself together in my 20s. Then another thing happened. It wasn't just family and not growing up with an education and being trapped, because as a child you're trapped. You don't get to choose your family. You don't get to choose that your mother's psychologically damaged, and your father abandons you. You don't get to choose that. It just happens to you. It's the one choice you don't get to make. And if you're not in a good situation, going to high school, it then affects your ability to go to university, and it sets you down a track that is hard to pull back. And people don't think about those things. It's like with many sports. I don't know, I've been watching like with a lot of sports, one team gets a lot of momentum, and the team that is able to, absorb all of the pressure from the opposition, and then somehow flip the momentum in their favor and take back the ascend on top of the, like with like rugby league, it's hard to pull back and then absorb all of the pressure. Like even in the UFC, you're getting beaten down, absorb the pressure and then flip it on your opponent. This can be a good metaphor for life. When you start out in a hard situation, it's hard to get out of it. It really is. And people don't take into account when you have a multimillionaire or an entrepreneur, he will often tell people all the time, I came from nothing and I worked so hard to get here. The reason is because it is just so difficult to turn that tide, turn the momentum in your favor. It's really difficult to do that. And that's something that I've managed to do my entire life in the face of some of the most extreme adversity most people would never imagine. I ended up living in poverty, ended up homeless. My stepfather did everything he could to destroy my life as a child. He saw me as the problem, but really he was an alcoholic. He was actually the problem. And I ended up homeless at a young age. You can read my book, The Disabled Casanova. It's called The Disabled Casanova because with all of the financial problems, education, career, all of the family issues, you're on your own, basically. And a lot of people out there, they can, maybe you watching this right now, you can relate. Maybe you're going through a lot. You might not have gone to the depths that I've seen, but that's why I'm able to help you. Then in my late 20s, out of nowhere, my hips started hurting and I needed a hip replacement. Then it turns out I needed 2 hip replacements. I needed 3 surgeries just to be able to walk again. While living in abject poverty in my late 20s, early 30s, uneducated, and struggling to survive. Now I'm living in 20-star luxury like this, and you can go through my videos. I've basically traveled the world and live a relatively good life, and I didn't make the money coaching. People don't realize that. The cash to allow me to do this didn't come from coaching. Look at the quality of my videos. If I was making money, I'd probably hire an editor and go out there and put a bit more effort into it. And there's a lot of men out there struggling. There's a lot of men that are angry and bitter and lonely, and they don't have to have come from the depths of hell that I've come from. But a lot of them are lonely regardless. And, having a dating coach that has, there were times there where I was renting out an apartment while sharing with like 6 people and either sleeping on the couch or whatever just to survive. And I would still have a hot girlfriend come around to visit me on a regular basis. I still had multiple girlfriends that were hot. And the thing is, there's also a bit of a misconception out there. People think it's all just about getting laid. But if you're watching this and you're struggling with life, you're struggling with career, you're working really hard, that isolates you from everybody. You might not have mummy and daddy to talk to all the time too. You might have come from a good family as well. You might have had a relatively good life when compared to me, and this is definitely not any sort of competition between us, but someone who's gone to the depths that I've gone to, I can bring a lot to the table, even if it is a form of counseling. So I do have guys that I will be coaching, and there are the nuts and bolts around dating, but they're also lonely. They have career problems. They have lots of different issues that they're dealing with, you see? And what I can bring to the table is, counseling, someone to talk to, but also someone to talk to that's been there. Someone to talk to that knows what it feels like to be in your situation. And also to understand you and understand that you feel like nobody else understands your situation. And talking to someone like myself that understands not exactly, but in a way, your situation and knows what it feels like to be isolated like you and alone and not having people around that support you, and having someone like myself that you can call all the time, you can get on a phone call, we can talk, and someone that's in your corner cheering for you, someone that is actively doing everything he can to help you. Now that's a coach. It's not just, oh, here's the ABC little trick to get your little dicky wet. That's not what we do here. We do get guys lays, lots of lays. The other aspect of that is that you have to date a lot of women to find a good one. You have to go, like women have this classic saying that you have to kiss a lot of toads before you meet the handsome man or whatever it is. Because I think you kiss a toad and then he turns into a, what is it? It's like a fairy tale. But you have to date a lot of women before you find a good one. There's a lot of bad women out there, and so you have to do volume. There's no other way unless you get lucky, and it is possible. You can get lucky. Literally, the first girl you ever speak to could be a good one, and it does happen. But on average, percentage-wise, the probabilities are not in your favor of that happening, because a large percentage of women are either not in the right. It's not the right time for them to be dating anyone right now, or they're just not in the mood right now. It's you happen to be in the wrong area or in your life at the wrong part of your life when you meet them, and not in the right headspace as well. There's a lot of factors that do matter. Let's just put it that way. But what I do bring to the table is the ability to have someone in your court that knows what it feels like to be lonely and by yourself and have nobody understand you. And on top of just having, counselors and psychologists, like, it is helpful, I guess, but a lot of the times they don't have actionable steps. And I would say that a counselor or a dating coach that also, is willing to spend the time and effort to get on the phone with you whenever you need to speak to someone, as well as giving actionable steps, because I've seen the depths of hell myself, that's valuable. It's valuable. It's just valuable. Because when I was in the depths of hell and alone and no family, I had to make new friends. I was living in abject poverty. I was dealing with extreme chronic pain from pain in my hips and my joints, needing major surgeries and having to overcome these things by myself. You don't have to have gone to those extremes, but if I can figure out ways to overcome those things myself, I'm sure I can figure out how to overcome those things for you and be that person, that guy that you can call anytime and talk to. The issue also is if you speak to your friends about your problems too much, you might just, and this is the reality of the world, you might just start depressing them. They might not want to hear your bad news all the time, and they might stop being as available to speak to you in the future. So you can't really use your friends as a sounding board. Once in a while is okay, but sometimes you need someone to talk to on a regular basis. And that's where someone like myself comes in. I when I had my first hip replacement, I got recommended a counselor. It was just a I don't know it was like a spontaneous sort of situation where the counselor was there, and I was told, look, you should speak to this counselor. And this counselor heard my story. We had a bit of a chat, and we kind of became friends. And that counselor is the head of a major non-for-profit organization in Australia right now. She's been awarded medals now, and an extremely good counselor, and we became basically friends, and someone that I can talk to, someone that I can talk about things that I'm dealing with, and that's something that you can't really burden your friends or your family or acquaintances with. You kind of need a counselor to talk to about those issues. And in a way, that counselor recommended that I start doing this. And that's the difference between myself and a lot of the other dating coaches out there. My professional head of an NGO counselor, I became her favorite, actually, and we became friends. We still talk. She's almost like a pseudo replacement mother of mine in a way, and that is in part because there's a difference between a lot of her other clients, what they've been through, and she did say on many occasions that that's why I was her favorite, because of overcoming a lot of adversity, solving a lot of complex problems, and she saw a lot of those issues. And she's been pushing me for many years to, in fact, be a counselor myself, because if you bring that experience to the table, you can be very valuable to other people going through difficult times. And a lot of men that get into the dating space, they're lonely, they're sad, they don't have anybody to rely on, they don't want to burden their friends or family, if they have friends or family. And, someone who, like myself, who actually enjoys seeing the changes, talking to my clients, seeing the changes, seeing the benefits, their lives getting better, them going from very stressed and, feeling helpless, not knowing what the roadmap is or what the next move is, and having someone to talk those things through and suggest new ideas all the time, you cannot understate how useful and powerful that is. And so that's what, as a dating coach, I bring to the table. And a lot of those solutions, they come through lots of conversations. It's not through one boot camp or one weekend boot camp or some digital product that you buy. You need someone to actually talk to. And so, that's something that I just wanted to talk about, because, I know there's a lot of skepticism in the industry and with guys that are dating coaches, and I'm nothing like them. Everything I have, I basically fought my life to have. I worked so hard just to have a roof over my head and pay my medical bills and get out of poverty, and I became homeless, you name it. And there was no easy victory there. I had to legit eat dirt. I had to eat dirt, So And, you know, I learned a lot of lessons. I made a lot of mistakes. And I bring all of that to the table in conversations. So, you know, there's a lot of guys that I have seen, that I have coached, that have come from awful situations, lonely, sad, guys that are, you know, have never had a girlfriend, and we've worked through their problems and solved a lot of their problems, and then they've gone out there and got themselves, you know, bringing love into your life cannot be understated. You know, bringing a beautiful girl, or even just having an average girl when you are lonely, is a great start to life. A lot of the scam coaches out there, they're going to say, oh, if your coach doesn't get you tens, scammers. The reality is very different, you see. So many of my clients have then gone on to get themselves girlfriends, and actually one of my clients I think he's engaged almost. I think he's planning on getting married very soon. You know, he was a product of the London Day Game model. I taught him some indirect game. That's how he got his current soon-to-be fiance wife. And when I first met him, or we first started coaching, he was coming home from work so stressed that he was throwing up. There's men out there that are struggling. And just a few little tweaks, talking to someone who's battled through life like myself, it cannot be understated the value that that can bring. And of course, I also coach the in-person cold approach coaching on the street, doing lots of cold approach, doing immersions, doing I don't really do boot camps. I prefer immersions because we have a lot more time out there approaching lots of girls, refining how you approach. But ultimately, for you guys watching this, you know, if you're curious about me, read my book, The Disabled Casanova. The second step, if you're sad and lonely, you're trying to get out there, sign up to do some coaching where, you know, I do have a lifetime package where I will talk to you as long as it takes. I'll be in your corner for as long as it takes. And the third one is the 30-day challenge. You know, if you just want to get out there and start cold approaching girls, the 30-day challenge is a great way to start. It really is. It's a great way to start, get into the game, and start making things happen. But anyway, guys, I'll see you guys in the next video.